Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. As for myself, I'm doing okay. I'm glad it's warming up outside. The last two sessions we had were very interesting. We had some questions. We had some different learners on, and thank you for returning if you were here for the last two sessions or if you were here just for one. It means a lot. So I'll go through a little bit of what we went through already. And you can raise your hand to ask a question if you want, or put it in the chat box. And I'll try my best to answer, okay? But for tonight, we are going to continue on. We are on our third session. I had done the PowerPoint for just the beginning language. So I think for after the sixth session, I want to do some structured sentencing and help people to structure their sentences to be able to speak the language a little bit or even to understand it. I know we do have some advanced people on online, and I find that really, really good. So we'll carry on from where we left off last Tuesday night. Okay, so the Dakota language is brought to you by the Reconciliation through the Language Learning Series in partnership with Regina Public Library. I want to thank them very much for offering me to help them out with this. I'm very honored to do that, very honored, and feel that, that we are here to keep the language alive. And I appreciate everybody who signed on. I'm very grateful for people who did that, okay? And some had questions to where the PowerPoint will be after, and it will be at the library. It'll be accessible. So it'll be going to the reconciliation program. So I'm very grateful for that too as well. Okay. So I'll carry on to the beginner Dakota language class. Welcome to the beginner Dakota language cyber group. I appreciate the interest for the language and want to thank you all who are participating and help to keep the language alive. I'm grateful for this class to be allowed over Zoom to share with anyone. I will share what I can in the 10 classes we are privileged with, okay? And my introductions of myself, a little bit was already explained. I have a small bio. I live on Standing Buffalo Reserve. I was raised Dakota. I was born Dakota. And my relatives on Standing Buffalo, some of us are relearning our language. Some of us have learned it already. Some of us have it already with us. And like other communities, we are regaining a lot of culture, language, identity. Be respectful online. Raise your hand, or if you need something to say, put it in the chat box or message or email. Put yourself on mute until you have a response, because I hear all the background. If you're not on mute, I could hear everything that is going on in the background. Raise your hand if you have a question. We are all learners. Let's have fun while we learn, okay? Because a lot of some of the words, some of the actions, the letters that you say, like I said before, it's practice. If you don't know how to say them from before, or you don't know how to know it at all, then you practice it. Once you practice it, it'll come easier for you. A lot of us, we have a lot of laughter, we have a lot of humor, so we laugh at ourselves because we're learning, and make it fun, right? If you don't make it fun, if you're very stoic about it. It's going to be harder on you to learn it. And knowing that we're all here together for the same purpose makes it even easier. Okay. I had explained the vowels, nasal vowels, and the consonants. Our Dakota letters I had shared. I had shared how they sound like. And we have 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. 3 nasal vowels, N, In, and Un. And I explained about the nasal vowels. It comes from your nose, like you have a plugged nose. N, and Un. So the N has a little, when you write it down, you document it, it has a little tail at the end of the N. I was trying to download the Dakota app so that way I can write it easier on here to show. So I'm still going to try this week. I'm not going to give up. My other older laptop had it, but this is a new laptop. Kaylee L, to everyone, I can't hear anything. Oh, can you check that, please, to see? Yeah. Can everybody else hear me? I hope so. Okay. So the 3 nasal vowels, and, in, and un, and there's 26 consonants: B, C, ch, D, G, G. Remember the guttural sound, R, H, and H with the asterisk on it. It's aspirated sound. It comes from your esophagus. I had explained about the sounds that you make with your throat, with your tongue, your nose, and from your lungs. When you're going to say an aspirated consonant, it comes from your esophagus up and it's aspirated. So when we say the aspirated one, like we used H, it's the H in hota, hota, hota. It comes from your esophagus, and it's almost like a vibration in your esophagus. When we talk about that, the word hota, that means gray in the colors. See, she, okay, I hope she got it. All right. And the K and the KH, the K, and I always tell people to write it how you will understand it, because the words that we're using on here, write it with a long E, long I. If you have your Dakota language dictionary, if anybody has any Dakota books, use them. There's ways to use them. Some of them come with CDs, and some of them they show you how to write words. They show you how to say them, but you have to be understanding of the asterisks or the marks above the lettering, because it can mean a guttural sound or explosive sound, aspirated sound. So the men and the women in our Dakota, Nakota, Lakota language, in our dialect, we have the men who have different endings in their sentences, in their words. They use the do sound, D-O, do. The women, we use ye, Y-E, ye, in our sentences. So when you hear somebody talk, you can hear them and you can understand where they got their teachings from. But they'll use the do or the ye ending. So that's something to look into. If you hear it, pay close attention when you hear Dakota, Lakota, Nakota speakers, and you'll see, you'll start understanding. But practice your consonants, your vowels. Okay, practice those. We went over them the last 2 sessions, and I believe these The PowerPoint was emailed to everybody, so if you have it in your email, you can pull it up and look at it too when you have time, okay? We talked about kinship, our tiwahe. The E is a A, sounds like an A in this word, tiwahe. Mitakuye is our immediate family. You always hear people say mitakuye owasan. Owasan is all. Mitakuye owasan. They always say we are all relatives, we're all family, so that's why it's mitakuye, our immediate family. Again, we talked about the man, how we say wichasha. We talked about the woman, wia. They always talk about our creation story. My grandmother always talked about the moon we call we. So they talk about that. They talk about the earth. Child is sich-a. Sich-a. Again, we have another word for that we use, and it's called wikaija. Wikaija. So now when you say that, it talks about the children being sacred or holy. The boy, we say hokshida. Hokshida. Again, there's the guttural sound and the S sound, SH, hokshida. The girl is wichinchana. Wichinchana. So when we talk about the N sound on there, again, that's the nasalized N. Wichinchana. Again, you could do your syllables in there. So you'll learn how to say it for yourself. Our older grandparents, we said kunshi, kunshi. Our grandfather is tunkashi, tunkashi, tunkashi. Our immediate grandparents, we say uchi, uchi. Unchi is for grandmother. Unka is grandfather. Unka, unka. Our father is ate, ate, ate. Our mother is ina, ina, ina. Son is chinkshi, chinkshi, chinkshi. The S turns into an SH, chinkshi. Daughter is chunkshi, chunkshi, chunkshi. Again, the birth order for boys and girls, it goes from the firstborn to the secondborn, the thirdborn, the fourthborn, and the fifthborn. I questioned, why does it stop at the fifthborn? My grandma said, that's just the way it is. She said, that's how it is. Okay. When they say that, we don't question, right? We just say, all right, and we leave it like that. Okay. So the firstborn for a boy is chaske. Second one is hipan. The third is hapi. And the fourth is chata. The fifthborn is hake. The girls, the firstborn is winona. The secondborn is hapa. The third is hapsti. The fourth is wanske. The fifthborn is wihake. Okay, wihake. We went on to counting woyawa, woyawa, 1 to 10. Okay, so we counted 1 to 10. Some people had, well, I asked them if they wanted to practice it, and some did. And I asked everybody to practice it at home to see how they can pronounce it. As some people, a lot of us have we're embarrassed or we're shy, and that's okay. You know, we all have our own way of learning, and it takes time. So we went over number 1. Some of us say wancha, some say waji, wancha or waji. Numpa is number 2. Noompa. Yamini is number 3. Yamini. Topa. Topa is number 4. Zapta. Zapta is number 5. Shakpe. Shakpe. Again, you could put the SH in there to help you remember. Shakpe is number 6. Shakawi. Shakawi is number 7. Shakdora. Shakdora is number 8. Napchuanka. Napchuanka is number 9. Wikchamana. Wikchamana is number 10. Okay. I remember my grandma used to teach us these, and the way we learned, or the way she talked, was when she added the English version of it. She used to always talk a blended language to us. A blended language is speaking Dakota and English. So you speak 2 languages, right? You speak 2 languages, and that's the way you understand it, and that's okay. A lot of people in every language, they speak the blended language. They speak English and another language. That's called blended. So when we talked about the numbers, and also we talked about the colors, okay? So we talked about the colors, and we done little sentences last class, or last session. We talked about the animal, the numbers and the colors. So in our little sentences we made, we always put the subject first, and the subject is a person or thing talked about. So we went over some animals, and we used a color and we used a number. So the color red is Sha, Sha. Yellow is Z, Z. Orange is Zisha, Zisha. And we had an elder who spoke. He said the opening prayer for us. He is from Sioux Valley. He's one of our relatives from over there. And him too, he is doing a language program too. I'm very proud of him. He's like, we're trying to keep the language going, trying to help people to learn it any way that we can. So we give each other ideas. I really appreciate him helping me out and doing different, like the language too. I also have mentors from Pipestone, Manitoba, Chanupa Wakpa. And I also have mentors from Fort Houghton, from Spirit Lake. So we all have our same dialect, but we say things differently. So my mother and my aunt used to always tell me, listen to how people talk, how they say their words. Then you'll be able to tell which territory they're from, which reserve they're from, if you listen real closely. So I do that. I always listen, and I was, oh, that sounds like, our relatives from Sioux Valley. It sounds like our relatives from Whitecap, because we were very limited for our Dakota reserves in Canada, right? So listen very carefully, and our Nakota relatives too as well. Listen to their language. We have similarities, but there's a little bit of differences. And a Lakota. We have one Lakota reserve in Canada, and that's Wood Mountain. We have a lot of Lakota reserve communities in in the US, but here we have just one. I'm trying to see the chat. I can't open it. Rita's asking what is zero in Dakota. Oh, there is no real word in zero. Yeah, there is no real word in zero. But that's a good question. I need to question that too, because we've never ever talked like that. So orange for us here in Standing Buffalo is what we were taught was Zisha. Zisha. And again, I questioned, why is it Zisha? But then as a little girl, I didn't know that. But growing up, I knew, now I know if you mix Sha and Z together, you'll get Zisha, right? Even in the English language, you mix red and yellow up, you'll get orange, right? And Harold had said in Sioux Valley, they say Riri Tanka. So I added that in. And for blue, we say to, to. And again, that comes from your esophagus up. It comes aspirated, right? To, to. So if you practice that at home right now, even if nobody's listening, you could say it by yourself and practice, right? To, to. So again, green is pejito, pejito, pejito. Black is sapa, sapa. White is ska, ska, ska. Gray is hota, hota. Again, there's that esophagus word. When we say hota, it comes from your esophagus. You'll feel a vibration in your throat, and sometimes it helps if you drink water or something. It helps you to say it better. So again, brown is ri, ri. Again, you have to feel like you have a bunch of saliva in your mouth when you say ri. So again, if you listen to the Dakota language, you'll notice that the words are said in different ways. Ri. So when you listen to that, that means brown, okay? So you take a look at purple, shashtan, shashtan. So that's a S-H, shashtan. That means purple. So again, Sioux Valley, as our relative Harold had mentioned, is toshtan, toshtan, toshtan. Pink, we say shasha, shasha. The N, you can barely hear it, but it's there, shasha. Okay, it's almost similar to purple, shashta, shasha, shashta, shasha. Okay, and for pink, Sioux Valley, our relatives from there, they say rikta, rikta. Okay, so it's good to listen to different ways of the language. It helps enhance us to realize, territorial languages. And that's not only for like us, again, it's for other languages like the Dene and the Soto. They have different ways. And the Cree, our relatives from Cree nations, they have their different dialects too as well. Okay. Silver and golden colors in Dakota. I'll get them and I'll put them on here for next class because they're spelled different too. Okay. Okay, so now we went on to Ambato Shakawi, day 7, 7 days. This one we put in Dakota, then we do a literal translation. Then we do the English translation. I had explained at last session that we do a literal translation because our Dakota language, it doesn't mean the same as an English word. So we modify it and we amplify it. And like I said before, it has a whole different meaning because some days we never had a calendar. We never had a identified 365 days of the year. And this is from my grandma, my kunshi. She used to always say this: we never had a calendar 365 days of the year. She said what we had was the our buffalo hides, our robes. They told the calendar on there. So today we still have a painter in our community. He's my uncle Wayne Goodwill. He does paintings on buffalo hides like that yet. And I know that he has buffalo hides at the Mackenzie Art Gallery. If you go and look at them, you'll see that there's different different calendars he done, and he has a really good explanation of it. Sorry about that. So our days were made up as people started to go to school and stuff like that. They started to make their own days. Okay. So the first day that we have that we go by is Empetu Owanka Yujajapi. Okay. Empetu Owanka Yujajapi. The literal translation for that is day, floors, wash. Empetu is day. So Empetu is day. Floors is Owanka. Yujajapi is to wash. Yujajapi. Okay, and that's Saturday. Okay, so every Saturday they would wash their floors. So that's the calendar, the day of the week that were made by the ancestors, I guess, that have started the days of the week. Then we have Empetu Wakan. Empetu Wakan. The literal translation for that is day and holy. Holy or something spiritual, right? So that's Sunday. So now you know where that came from, right? When people went to church. Okay. So that's why Sunday is Empetu Wakan. Okay. It's a day. It's holy day. Okay. The next one is Empetu Wanji. And literal translation, day first. And that's Monday. Empetu Inumpa is day 2, Tuesday. So you see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're actually the numbers. If you go back and look at the numbers, they are the numbers. Okay. So the I is added in front of it to imply that it's something after, right? So Inumpa is after Wanji. Empetu Inumpa is day 2, it's Tuesday. Empetu Iyamani is day 3, which is Wednesday. Empetu Itopa is day 4, Thursday. Empetu Izapta is day 5, and it's Friday. Okay, so when I tell you little stories about what my grandmother had told me, that's how I learned it. That's what I heard. Okay. So if you hear otherwise, that's another teaching. People have different teachings of how they learned the language, how they retained the language, right? So pay close attention to all that. It's very important. And that's how we learn. That's how we learn. Okay. Here we are with the animals. Okay. Last time we talked about them and we added colors and we added numbers on them, and we had fun, right? So We talked about the buffalo, the tatanka buffalo, tatanka. And our dog is shunka. Our horse is shunka wakan. Again, if you put that into a literal translation, shunka is dog. Waka is holy or sacred or spiritual, because horses came to the people and they thought it was something very sacred and holy, because back in the teepee days, they had dogs, right? A shunka. So now it was very, very spiritual that they had a horse that came to them and they were able to use it. So they thought it was something very, very great. Shunka waka. It was very sacred to them, very holy, because they helped them in a lot of things that they done. Tachja, there's that esophagus sound, that esophagus H, tachja, and that's deer. Okay. Hitunkana, there's that guttural K, and that's mouse. Okay. Mastincha is rabbit. Mastincha. Mato is bear. Mato is bear. Wambadi is eagle. Wambadi. And fish is honga. Again, there's that esophagus H and the guttural G. Honga. Again, that's where you have to use your tongue and your esophagus again. And the N is a small nasalized N. It's there, but you could hardly hear it. So when we added numbers and we added colors, last session I said that you cannot add a S when you pluralize a subject. You can't add an S. You can't say tatankas, shunkas. You can't say that. You have to pluralize it by adding a number on it. Okay. When I say pluralizing, that means making something more. And some of the words that we made last time were zapta. You can see that there's 5 fish. Zapta, 5 fish. Then again, for the colors, we used mastincha ri, and that's brown rabbit. And wambadi numpa, that's 2 eagles. Wambadi numpa. Tachja numpa. You can go tachja numpa ri. Tachja numpa ri. That means 2 brown deer. Okay. So you put the subject first. Then after that, the verb goes after the subject. The verb is the action, or to express a state of action. So what are they? They're brown, and there's 2, and they're deer. Okay. Mastincha ska waji. Mastincha ska waji. No. Mastincha ri waji. Right? Mastincha ri waji. 1 brown rabbit. Mastincha ska waji. No. Mastincha ri waji. Right? So now you practice those I always tell people if they want to learn the colors or the animals, they sell some books in the dollar store. They're children books. They have colors in there. They have animals or even a calendar. Make your own Dakota language book, how you would understand it. Cut pictures out, numbers of something, and put them in your own book. Make your own book. There's lots of supplies from the dollar store. You make your book how you will understand it. And for some people, it's fun. Some people, they really want to learn so hard that they give up. But if you make it fun, like I said before, make a book for yourself, and you could read it to your children, your grandchildren, your friends, practice with them, teach them how to say the words, practice with somebody. Okay, when you practice with somebody, it starts becoming easier and understandable. Like I said, if you have fun, it's good. While I was waiting to get online here, I just made this up. Some of my friends on Facebook and that, they say, oh, I hear you're doing Dakota language again. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. And I said, yeah, I'm helping. I said, I like to do stuff too. I said, so I'll teach some of this. They said, so I took it and I want to show you, a little bit of it, because I do the pattern. The pattern is how to create sentences, but I said probably by the 6th session that I'll show you how to do the pattern to create sentences. And it's fun, once you start creating sentences, like I showed you how to create some with the colors of the animals and the numbers of the animals, it gets easier. So for this one, it's just common wording of how to want and to give. Okay, so I want is wachi. So now when you say wachi, you have to be careful how you say it in a sentence. I say that because when we dance, it's called wachi. You see how I said it? Wachi. But when you want something, it's wachi. Wachi. When you dance, wachi. So how you say your syllables, the speed of how you say the syllables has a huge meaning in the words. So when you say your words, be mindful of how you say it, how you write it, because you may word it wrong, you may write it wrong to make complete a sentence. So you have to write it appropriately. So again, it was written hot dog wachi, hot dog wachi, hot dog wachi. The N is a nasalized N, and that means I want a hot dog. Wachi, wachi, wachi. Okay, there's that blended language again. Hot dog wachi, hot dog wachi. Okay, then again we have mak-u, mak-u, mak-u. That means give me, give me. Okay, it's almost like a command. Give me mak-u. Okay, so mini mak-u. Mini is water. Okay, that's a Dakota word for water. Mini, mini mak-u. Okay, mini mak-u. Give me water. Okay, so the next one is ija, ija, ija. So that's the J is an explosive sound in your mouth. Ija, ija, ija. So that's where you have to have a lot of saliva in your mouth to say it. Ija. Okay. Ija. And your teeth clench together and your tongue is inside the back. Ija. Okay. That means him or her too, or someone also. Okay. Ija, you go like this to somebody, Ija. When you speak, you use a lot of hand signs when you start speaking Dakota to help yourself learn, to help the other person who is learning or somebody who is teaching you. They use a lot of hand signs. So you need to pay attention to that too, okay? Recognize that when they point, look at what they're pointing at right away. Okay, so Ija, it's kind of like a question mark, Ija. And Mija, Mija is me too. Mija, right? Who's all going to town or who's doing this, who's doing that? Mija, me too. And Nija, Nija is you too, you too, Nija. The third one is Iya, Iya, Iya. Him or her or somebody, Iya. And you'll see when the older people, when they say Iya, they go at their head, Iya, right? Sometimes that means when they say Iya, that means go, Iya. So this one is Iya, him or her or somebody. Okay. So Mia is me. Mia. Nia is you. Nia, Mia, Nia, right? Tawa is his or hers or someone's. Tawa. Okay, his or hers or someone's. Tawa. So I'm going to say something is mine. Me tawa. Me tawa. Me tawa. Me tawa. Me tawa is mine. Okay. Then there's ni tawa. Ni tawa. Ni tawa, yours. Ni tawa, yours. So now there's a pattern here. So now if you want to take a look at it, everything is for me that amplifies something of mine, myself, begins with M-I, me, right? Me. So now anything that belongs to a significant other or another person, you, like somebody else, is ni, N-I, ni. So again, you pay attention to that when they say me or ni, right? You pay attention to the second word after that, and you'll understand that, hey, you know, there's a connection to all these words, right? And you have to identify them. That's why I say don't be so quick to say, hey, I know what that means, you know, just sit and listen. And if you have a person who is very, very fluent, if you stop and you ask them, can you say that again? Or can you help me? You know, you're lucky if you have somebody who's close like that to you who can help you. Okay. So don't feel embarrassed or anything. You want to learn, you want to understand. Just ask. Okay. Ask. So I hope this will be included in the PowerPoint because I just made it in like a few minutes while I was waiting for 7 o'clock. Okay. So now we're going to go on with the food. Okay. In some of our diets, we go with the basic foods that we have. And because it's a common food that we always eat. So it's woyuta. The first one is pudding. Wojapi. They always say pudding because they make berries and certain sauces, right? Wojapi. There's different ways to make pudding. They use it at ceremonies, at feasts, even every day we have pudding, right, with bananas and all that. We have meat, we have tado, 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 tado. Then we have our potato, bado, bado, bado. It's not the B sound, it's bado, bado. Okay, so we have our soup. We call it wahampi, wahampi, wahampi. Okay, and our bread, we have ahuiapi, ahuiapi. Again, there's your guttural G sound. It's not a chi sound, it's a ru, ru, ru. So when you say that, the esophagus sound, ahuiapi, ahuiapi, right? So when you take the chance, you can actually sit in front of a mirror and say those sounds, because it really helps your throat, your esophagus, your nasal sounds, your aspirated sounds. You practice it, it really helps. And then, like I said, you always have to have water or something to drink, and it really helps. Somebody's in the chat. But when there was no putting back before contact is an evolution of a word. Vicky is asking. Please share on my email. Oh God. No, that's the English word for pudding. That's the English word for wojapi. It's actually a sauce. When we do our wojapi, that's the closest English word we can come to wojapi. And working with non-First Nations people, that's the closest word that they can come to wojapi. Otherwise, if you see wojapi, you'll understand what it is. It's a sauce. And for us, well, for me anyway, to have wojapi is made with berries, and it has a texture of pudding. So that's why they called it pudding. All these English words that are here, those are the closest words that were made, the English words that were made close as they could to the Dakota words. Because even cake, we never had cake, right? We never had sugar. So words that were made, they were created to accommodate the Western foods. Soup is wahampi. Bread is ahuiapi, ahuiapi. Cake is ahuiapi, squiena, ahuiapi, squiena. Squiena or squia is sweet, something sweet. So it's actually, literally, it's a sweet cake. Okay, ahuiapi squiena, that's sweet cake. Okay, something sweet. And sugar is chahampi, chahampi, chahampi. Again, there's that ch, C, that C that has a ch to it. And the esophagus, H, chahampi, chahampi, right? The N is almost silent, chahampi, chahampi. Again, to have that esophagus H, you need to practice that. Again, when the mirror is there, you can practice it, because your mouth makes all these different sounds, different it makes different forms, and your tongue, again, or your esophagus, your nasal sounds. You practice those. And corn, wamna heza, wamna heza, wamna heza, wamna heza. Okay, so that's some of the foods that we have, and we have some more. Again, some of these foods, we never had apples. We had, when I say we had, I talk about the things that were back in the TP days. When I say TP days, that's when there was no TV, no fridges, no stoves, nothing like that, okay? So we have vegetables, okay? So even that, there was never really a word, but the Kunshi and Uchi, they made words to accommodate the Western foods again. So vegetables is takushnishni, takushishnishni, takushnishni. Okay. And pumpkin, wamanu, wamanu, wamanu. And our onions, pshi, pshi, pshi. The P is a blowing P, 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 pshi. And the S is a blowing up S, like psh, psh, pshi. And the N is nasalized, pshi, e, e. See, again, it's coming from your nasal when you say that one. Pshi, pshi. Fruits of all kinds. Again, when you see a whole bunch of fruits in a fruit bowl, right? And there's all different kinds, you can say that we have them. And then again, a long time ago, when they made a different kind of wojapi, there's all kind of fruits in there, because wojapi is a pudding with just one fruit, remember? So with fruits of all kinds, how they make it. For me, how I can explain it, when you go to Sundance and they bring out that big heaping bowl or cooler or whatever full of all kinds of fruits, it's waskuyacha, 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 waskuyacha. So that's a whole bunch of fruits of all different kinds mixed together. Again, we have our choke cherries. When we have our choke cherries growing on the trees, right? We have choke cherries, we pick them and we use them as part of our diet. It's called champa, champa, champa. The C is a cha sound, cha, cha, cha. And the N is a nasalized N, okay, cha. So you could hear it coming out of the nasal, cha, pa, cha, pa. So the PA is explosive, cha, pa, cha, pa. Okay, again, the oranges are tashpa zizi, tashpa zizi. And remember what we talked about in our colors? Orange is zizi. The color orange is zizi, zisha, zizi, zisha. Tashpa, apples. Apples are tashpa. Tashpa is apples. Tashpa. Candy is chahampi, chahampi, shashana, chahampi, shashana, chahampi, shashana. Okay. So again, the S, we put the little asterisk there to show that it's sh sound, the sh sound, okay? So again, accommodate yourself how you can write it so you can say it on your own. Because I know a lot of us, we have a little bit of problem saying the guttural sound, the esophagus sound, the nasalized sound, the explosive sound. Okay, so if you practice that, that'll help yourself out saying some of the words. I know the ri sound is very different for some people. And I know some people who have a third language, a second language, you practice that and it helps your vocabulary, right? Because for me, I always thought I had a speech impediment, right? Until I took classes for phonology and morphology. And I thought, hey, it makes sense now, there's something, I thought there was something wrong with me, but there's not, it's how you say your language, how you speak from your throat, your nose, your esophagus, right? From your diaphragm, right? When you say some of the words. So if you practice that, that will help you, okay? And we're out of time. I'm like, okay. So if you guys want to practice that, and hopefully I'll see and hear you guys next session, next Tuesday. And I want to hear some of you practicing with me next time. And I know I want to get some worksheets out to use. So have them emailed to use next class. Okay, so I want to thank you all for participating, for hearing me out tonight. Okay, and thanks for the questions. Okay, I appreciate it.